Hey guys, I thought I'd come on today. I gave it a couple days to calm down a little bit. If you guys watched my round table the other day, at the end there, we had one of the guys get on, Cryptor 27, started trying to say that. I mean, this may not be interesting to you guys. I don't know, but he basically started trying to say that it is freedom to allow someone who has a public business to infringe on the rights of people who are wanting to patronize his establishment only because the other patrons in the establishment are hateful and bigoted. And I find it funny that they don't see the falter in their logic there when they're talking about taking the rights of someone else and saying that it's freedom and that it's libertarian to um, tell somebody that if everybody in the town you live in doesn't want you in their establishment because they're bigoted, then you should just go to another town. And not saying that that's infringing on the freedoms of those people to be able to go buy groceries and shop and patronize a establishment to buy food or pizzas or anything like that. That is infringing on your rights. And he was trying to say that you shouldn't be allowed to go into bar if the people in the establishment who pay more than you um, want to allow you to go in there, and then those people say they don't want you there, and tell the owner has an obligation to kick you out. Or if he doesn't really care either way, but he's worried about losing money from his business, instead of taking the chance that there might be some Twitter war started and a protest, and the guy may lose a lot of business from kicking the people out, which this guy said that you shouldn't be able to protest if somebody does this. You should just take it and live with it. That you should not be able to get your, you know, I don't know how to say it. Like, you shouldn't be able to go in those places if if they don't want you there, you know. And my logic in this is something very simple to say if you don't like transgender people in your bar or gays in your bar or in your restaurant or in your shopping center, if you switch that over to I don't want blacks in my establishment, it all of a sudden becomes wrong. When you start, instead of saying trans or trannies, the way this one of the people did on this podcast, which is the same as saying the N word. If you said I don't want the N word in my establishment, it would all of a sudden be a horrifying thing to hear. But saying that I don't want transgenders in my bar isn't a horrifying thing to hear. I find it quite funny that where we are as transgenders is where blacks were 60 years ago. Because every day in the United States, there is transgender people being killed. Not every day, but at least once a week. There's I think there's 25 that have been killed this year so far. You know, not to mention the hundreds more that have committed suicide due to things like this, being thinking they're passable, or at least maybe they're passable enough to themselves that they would like to go out and try to be in public. And maybe they decided to go out at night to a dark bar so they could just go out in public as a transgender and maybe just stay out for a few hours and drink a little bit and go back home, because that's maybe the first time they were out. And then you run into these bigoted people and you decide to go back home. These people get depressed and then commit suicide. So it creates a very unsafe place for people just trying to live their life. They're not going to these establishments wanting to have sex on the pool table. They're not bothering anybody. They're just living their life like everybody else is, and that should be what most people would consider freedom. But this person pointed out that it's invading the rights and the freedoms of the person that owns the establishment and the other people in the bar. So they fail to see that if one person loses their freedom, then we all lose our freedom. You don't get to make concessions to one group of people and take the rights of other people. That's not freedom. That's not libertarian. If somebody, the way I would look at it is if I had a bar and somebody came into my bar and everybody, a bunch of my main patrons left, and from what he said at first, he said that they left and told him that they didn't want to be there, and later on he said that they left and didn't say anything just when the people came in. So basically he was making a facile argument about something that didn't really happen, acting like it did happen and changing the way it happened to try to fit his own biases. And it astounds me that in this day and age that we can't see where we are. And I have to think that it has to do a lot with stupid smart people and the religion that comes with that, and the religious mindset. I'm not even going to say the religion itself, but actually the mindset that I've talked about before in some of my podcasts, where these people get this mindset of not being able to see reality. And even though something is very easily pointed out and very easy to see where you're wrong, they don't seem to see it. They can't actually see that argument. And I find it sad that we can't live in a day and age where people can just live and be free, and everybody be free and everybody be able to live. But what's happened recently is because of the gay marriage legalization, kind of the last bastion of freedom for the bigots to harbor is the transgenders. So they've basically, what I pointed out in this video in the round table was these places that this person says are supposed to be free spaces, free for these bigoted people to hang out at and tell the owners what they can and can't do with their business. These free spaces are harboring bigots. And because they're harboring bigots and allowing bigots to exist and allow bigots to express their mind and say their hateful speech and congregate with other racist, homophobic people, that this breeds that and allows other people to think that this is right and this is fine. And what happens in these cases is you get guys that get together in these bars, talk about how they don't like gays or they don't like trans, and then they leave the bar. And they walk down the street and they find somebody that's gay or trans on their way to their home or their car, and they decide it would be fun to throw a beer bottle at them, or maybe escalate it and throw cigarettes, or beat them up, or in some cases kill them. There's a defense in America that a lot of people know about, but this kid didn't know about, called trans panic. It's a legal defense used in many cases. It's trans and gay panic, and it allows you to say you felt your life was somehow in danger, and you went into a panic because somebody who was trans, in many cases, was just around you, and so you decided to kill them or even beat them up to where they almost died. You know, so I don't see how in our day and age that we live in now, where people can't see that this is a real problem that needs to be fixed. And it seems like, I don't know what it is, people have this idea that transgender people are freaky, you know, that they are, you know, they're freakier than gay people, you know, and that we should shun them from society. And even though they might just be existing, just going to a store and buying some clothes, or going to a restaurant to eat with a couple other transgender people, not making a big fuss, just buying food and eating and drinking a beer or something, I should be able to tell those people they can't be in my area because I feel uncomfortable. But the fact that you're making them uncomfortable by confronting them with something and they're not doing anything to you, that's not infringing on their freedom, because your freedom is the only freedom that matters. And this is where their logic decays into stupidity, because they can actually act like they don't see where their logic is faulty, because the only people in the definition that this Scripture 27 said, the only definition for his libertarian, his liberalism views, the only people in that situation that he described that have freedom are the people who have money and influence and power in society. And the whole reason why you have these ideas is because people really feel, for some reason, that there's over 400,000 transgenders in America alone, just in America, and there's more coming out all the time. And he made the idea that because there's such a small amount of the population, we should just shun them, and they shouldn't get any special rights. He was talking as well about gays, that they're wanting all these special rights and special freedoms and all these things, which is really, really stupid and quite ignorant, because nobody can seem to understand that when these people ask for something, they're not asking for specialties. They're asking for exactly what you have. And I almost feel, I'm pretty sure now, after speaking with him that day, that he was trolling me. Because you can't be this stupid. You really can't, you know? To do the things that he was talking about and talk about transgenders and the law and the kinds of things that he was speaking of, I just think that you had to be trolling, because there's no way that somebody could think this way and not see where their logic is faulty. Because, as I've said, if you take one person's freedom away, then we all lose our freedom. And you have this socialist kind of fascist dictatorship if you feel that you have the right to tell somebody else that they're making you feel not even unsafe, they're just making you feel uncomfortable, just because they're not even doing anything, they're just existing. And, you know, I don't like your the way you wear clothes. I don't like your style. I don't like something like this. It's like, like a guy telling another guy, you're a heavy metal dude and you got long hair and I just don't like you. You're kind of creepy looking. So I want you to leave. You know, he's saying basically that if you don't have the right to do that, you shouldn't have the right to ask transgender people to leave when they're not doing anything. They're not actually doing anything to you or saying anything to you or even associating with you. They just walk in your bar, they walk in your restaurant, they order food, they sit down, they eat their food, and they leave. And he seems to think that you should have the right to take that right away from them. And if nobody in the town that they live in wants to associate with this person just because they're trans and they don't want to feed them and they don't want to allow them to shop, then this person should be forced to go to a different town, and that's freedom. Because if everybody's being bigoted towards you, you have the freedom to go to a different town to shop or to move to a different town. So the logic here is just so completely fucking crazy. I don't see how anybody could look at this logic and think that sounds like freedom to you. Because all you have to do is replace transgender with blacks or Asian or Mexicans or any other race, even whites. If you're in a black area or a Spanish bar or something, and then all the Spanish people feel uncomfortable because there's one white person in there, and you're asked to leave because everybody else feels uncomfortable just because you're in the bar drinking a beer. Everybody can see how crazy that sounds, how stupid that sounds, and how it would probably never happen. But we have to watch these other people believe that it's fine to do that as long as they're only transgenders, because transgender people don't matter. And if you can look at that and think that sounds like freedom to you, then you're an idiot. And it doesn't make any sense. You have a break in your logic, and I can only think of stupid smart people. Where you're saying half of what you say is smart and half of what you say is stupid, and your thought processes is just completely retarded, and it doesn't make any sense. So I might go further into this, but I'll go further into it on my other channel, my trans channel, because a lot of my trans viewers will want me to talk more about this subject. I just thought I'd put it out there because it was also on the roundtable discussion. I was planning on talking about schools and feminism in schools and stuff like that, and I didn't get but 2 people come on my roundtable that day, and all they wanted to talk about was bigots and transgender stuff. I mean, the first guy didn't, but the first guy started off by saying, "Aren't you a tranny?" Which is like talking to somebody who's black on there and saying, "Aren't you the N-word?" And they don't get it. They think it's funny, And I also hear them all the time. A common way of people to act like you are less than is acting like they don't know how to pronounce your name. My name is Shi-nu, and they degrade it to Shin, or something like that because they can't pronounce Shi-nu. I don't know why. It's pretty simple to pronounce that. I'll explain what it is here so that people can understand it a little bit more. I picked the name because in Japanese, Shi-nu means death. And I came back to Japan after college to have my male self die so I can rebuild myself kind of as female and transition. And in America, the phonic sounds of the word is basically new female or new woman. So Shi-nu, So it's kind of a poetic, name, and that's why I chose Shi-nu. But these people show their complete lack of respect by acting like they can't even pronounce your name. You know, I have a channel name, and they act like, oh, I don't know if I can pronounce his name, and I don't know, so they call me Shi and Shi-nu. You know, they call me Shin and Shi instead of just Shi-nu. It's very simple. I say it all the time. People talk to me. Even people talk to me in the same hangouts and say Shi-nu, and then somebody else addresses me and says she, that Japanese Shin, whatever his name is, you know. So it's a complete lack of respect, you know, to not even acknowledge your simply to acknowledge your name. And you know, I find it really funny that these people are this insensitive to just simple things that you would think would be very easy to do, but apparently they're very difficult to do. So I thought I'd talk about that. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video or you have anything to say about it, you can put it in the description below. As always, share, like, and subscribe, and have a nice day.